For the next few weeks, I am going to be talking about productivity. And there's a particular reason for this, and I realized maybe it would make more sense if I shared my thinking. Several weeks ago, I shared a video talking about productivity, and at that time, I had started a deep dive into productivity, specifically knowledge worker productivity. And I said that I was working on some content. And then, if you were paying attention, I just kind of switched gears and I went to the 10-year goal. Now, there's a reason for all of this, and yet I realized I never really explained it. For the last year, I've really been on a journey to unlock how to enjoy more flow, the flow state in my life, as well as building momentum. On this journey, one of the things that I realized is the beginning of creating momentum and then maintaining momentum rests in our productivity. That's really what started my deep dive into really better understanding productivity from the perspective of a knowledge worker. Most of us are earning our living around knowledge work, not as nearly as many as it used to be is through manual labor and through manufacturing, making things. And that is where the roots of productivity really began. And what my curiosity was, what's the difference in today's world? There had to be a difference. And I quickly discovered that there is a difference, and yet we still are hanging on to quite a bit of our definition and thinking of productivity from the days of manual labor and manufacturing, even when those are not relevant to what we are doing. So why did I make the switch from productivity those few weeks ago back to the 10-year goal? Here's what I learned. When we start looking for the definition of productivity for the knowledge worker, it's multidimensional, and it involves things like decision making, leveraging our skills and talents to create things that have value, collaboration, and managing work. So a lot of these sort of skills. And the one thing that it kept coming back to as I started doing reading those who are researching this topic is outcomes, results. That what we're producing, where it used to be manual labor, manufacturing is an easier example, that we are producing something, a widget, a vehicle. And our production, if you will, is an outcome. It's a result. And so I kept coming back to this that, well, it's the outcome. We need to, before we can measure productivity, we need to know the outcome. Now, this makes sense because when we measure productivity originally around manual labor and creating things, we understood what we were trying to create. So this is why I set aside temporarily productivity and I went to the 10-year goal. The 10-year goal is about outcome. And to me, it makes sense. If we're going to talk about our productivity, let's start with that longer term outcome. So I switched gears a little bit, went back into the 10-year goal and offered a masterclass recently, a free masterclass. Now I'm turning my attention back to productivity because productivity really is the beginning of momentum. So we need to know the outcome. The outcome is necessary before we can measure our productivity, and really understanding our productivity and leveraging that is the beginning of momentum. Now you have an idea of where we're going. So went back to talk about outcome. Now we're going to dig into for a few weeks into productivity, and that is going to lead us into really how do we build momentum? And once we get momentum, how do we continue to maintain it? So that's my thinking. That's how this is going to lay out, is we're now for a few weeks going to dig into knowledge worker productivity. And specifically, what do we want to know about it so that we can improve our own productivity, which is then going to lead us to momentum. And then we will start putting all of these pieces together to really look at how we can leverage all of these things to get to where we want to go as quickly as possible with wasting as little time, as little energy, and as little mental work as possible. That's it for this week. Bye for now.